Let's take a look at our very first component under the aggregate expenditures model with consumption. Remember, consumption is the largest component, representing about 70% of gross domestic product, and is one of the key factors in the model. So remember that consumption here in the United States, we are a very big consumption-based economy. So this is one of the biggest components that we're going to be focusing in on. Remember that we had this equation in chapter number 5. Consumption is the portion of income that is not saved. Income equals consumption plus savings. Y equals C plus S. Remember that anytime we talk about income, it's going to be our disposable income. So Y equals C plus S. Y is disposable income. We already take out the impact of taxes from that. So what does consumption look like graphically? Well, let's go ahead and take a look at a few lines right here. We have a Cartesian plane. We have consumption on the vertical axis, and then we have income on the horizontal axis right here. So once again, we're playing on the relationship between our spending components and income under the aggregate expenditures model. The first line that we want to focus in on is going to be this black line right here. So black line, Y equals C plus S. That was the equation that we brought up just a moment ago. And we notice that this black line is going to intersect at the origin right here. So anytime you have a line that intersects at the origin, you immediately know it's going to be a 45-degree line. So this 45-degree line that intersects at the origin right here is considered to be our benchmark line. In order for us to have any equilibrium at all within any of the models that we take a look at, our model line needs to be intersecting this benchmark line. So here, this just gives us a sort of reference or a benchmark for our model line. So something to be aware about that. And this line is going to show us exactly that. Whatever we earn in income, we are immediately going to consume all of that. So we can build off of that idea. If we have $1,000 in income, when we go straight up to this line, how much consumption do we have? We have $1,000 of consumption. If we have $2,000 of income, we have $2,000 of consumption. So it's a little bit hard to draw these graphs correctly, but that's the idea that we're going to get from this. So $2,000 of income, we have $2,000 of consumption. If we have $3,000 of income, we have $3,000 of consumption, and then so on down the line. So on down the line. $6,000 of income, $6,000 of consumption. So this black line right here is exactly a one-to-one relationship. So for whatever income that we have, we are immediately going to consume it. There is no savings on this line at all. So something to be aware of with our benchmark line. So go ahead and jot down a few of these main ideas. So for this black line right here, remember that this is going to be our 45-degree line reference. 45-degree line reference. And this is going to show points if the economy consumed and did not save. So here, we can basically say Y equals C plus S. So this equation right here, it has to hold with equality no matter what. And this Y equals C plus S, this black line, it shows points if economy, only consumed and did not save. Only consumed and did not save. So here, there's basically zero savings within this particular line. It's going to say that Y equals C here. So Y equals a C. If we have $1,000 of income, $1,000 of consumption. $5,000 of income, $5,000 of consumption. And remember, we have to be intersecting this line in order for us to be in equilibrium. So something to be aware about. The second line that we want to focus in on is going to be this red line. So here we have two lines under the consumption function, the black line and the red line. So how does the red line differ from our black line? Well, you immediately notice that the red line is always going to start above our black line. And we notice that, hey, the slope isn't as steep. The slope isn't as steep as the benchmark line right here. So this red line right here is our actual consumption within the economy. So what does this tell us? It tells us that we can gather data. It's basically our model line. It tells us that, hey, for this amount of income, we're going to have this amount of consumption within the economy. And we can do this for every single point along this red line, our actual consumption within the economy. And exactly where these two lines intersect, that is where our equilibrium should be if this were the only variable within the entire model, but we're going to be building this up piece by piece. So a few things about this consumption. So one thing that you notice already is that we said that this consumption line is always going to start above our benchmark line, our 45-degree line. And for what reason is that going to be? So here we have zero income, but we have $1,000 of consumption. And how can this be true? Why can this be true? And the reason that why this has to be true is because if we don't have any consumption, you and I would be dead. So here, even if we have zero income, we still have to consume goods and services, otherwise we would be dead. So in this instance, we have $1,000 of consumption, but $0 of income. So what does this tell us? Remember, this equation has to hold true. So if we have zero income, but $1,000 of consumption, it just tells us that we have negative savings. So we're actually pulling money away from our savings. We're borrowing on credit, and basically the saving component is going to be negative. So here, anytime we have consumption that is greater, or that when we have consumption that starts off more than our income, as we are here on the vertical axis, we consider this to be our autonomous consumption because we have to consume even if we don't have any income at all. So let's go ahead, jot down once again a few of these things, slowly build up this actual consumption line. So here, this red line is actual consumption in economy. So here, this is going to be our model line. And we're just going to go ahead and put a few points on here to basically prove a few points about this consumption function. First, as we did before, we start at the vertical axis. And when we start at the vertical axis, we notice that income is equal to 0, consumption is equal to $1,000. If this is going to be true, remember that this equation has to hold. It has to equate no matter what. So here, if income is equal to 0, consumption is equal to 1,000, that tells us that savings has to equal to negative 1,000. So we're borrowing money in this sense. So here, whenever we start off at the vertical axis, we have to consume, individuals have to consume, even if they have no income. Even if they have no or zero income. And remember, this is called our autonomous consumption. But what happens if I give you a few more points? Suppose that I tell you that income is equal to 1,500. I actually give you some income now, and consumption is equal to 2,000. What is our savings now? So here, we are still consuming more than we have in income. So that tells us that we're borrowing money once again. So savings here is going to be negative 500. So here, in the first step at the vertical axis, we're consuming more than we have in income. Our savings are negative. We're consuming more than we have in income. Our savings are negative once again. One final point, so before we go into that, where would we be in terms of the graph? Well, we have $1,500 of income somewhere right here, but our consumption is roughly about $2,000. So once again, we have negative savings. And I'll give you one more point. We'll go on to the other far end of the extreme. Suppose that I tell you that income is now $6,000 and consumption is equal to $5,000. So now in this instance, we actually have more income than we're consuming, so our savings are actually positive now. So savings equals to $1,000. So in terms of our graphical illustration, if we have $6,000 of income, our consumption, we hit the red line right here, is only $5,000, so our savings are positive. So based on these numbers that we have right here, we hit point number 1. Savings is negative to the left of point A, so anywhere to the left of A, we have negative savings. We're consuming more than we actually have in income. And to the right of A, we actually have positive savings. So here, we're consuming less than what we have in income. And exactly at point A, this is where our equilibrium is going to lie. Our savings, our income is exactly equal to our consumption. So $4,000 of income, $4,000 of consumption, savings equals to 0 at this particular equilibrium point. So here, that's the very first thing that we want to know about savings. So negative to the left of point A, positive to the right of point A. The second thing that we want to go ahead and note is what type of relationship do we have when income increases? So remember that on this black line, there was a one-to-one relationship. So if we increase income by 1,000, consumption increased by 1,000. And that follows all the way down the line on this black line. But do we see the same relationship building up with our red line? And the answer is no. When we increase income right here by 1,500, did consumption increase by 1,500? No, it didn't. It only increased by 1,000. When we increased income by 4,500 right here, as we go from this row to this row, did we increase consumption by 4,500? No, it only increased by 3,000. So here on this red line, we notice that consumption is going to rise as income rises as well, but it's not going to be at the same pace. It's not a one-to-one relationship. So here, the second thing that we want to go ahead and note based on this red line right here, let me draw an arrow, kind of ugly arrow right there. The second conclusion or takeaway from this sort of consumption function is as income grows, consumption also grows. Consumption grows. And this is going to be a fact. So here, income increases, consumption is also rising as well. But it's not going to be at the same pace. But not at the same pace. So here, there is not a one-to-one relationship on the red line with our actual consumption with the model line. So here, not at the same pace, not as fast. So not as fast. So here, as income grows, consumption also grows, but not at the same pace or not as fast. However, when we take a look at savings, we notice that the pace is actually much faster. So here, do note that there is a one-to-one relationship building up on the benchmark line, but not a one-to-one relationship on the actual consumption line. And this is going to lead us to our third point right here. So here, consumption spending grows as income grows, but not as fast. And as income rises, savings rise as a percentage of income. And we're going to show a mathematical way to prove this fact. So here in the next few videos, we'll talk about the average propensity to consume, average propensity to save, the marginal propensity to consume, and marginal propensity to save. So you'll have that to look forward to in the next few videos. The third and final point about the Keynesian consumption function that we want to hit on is that classical economists believe that interest rates determine savings. So whether or not interest rates are high or low, that tells us exactly how much we're going to save. But we noticed that we never talked about interest rates as we built up this consumption function. We believe that the Keynesians believe that income is the main determinant of saving. So here we have income. It tells us exactly how much we're going to save. At very, very low amounts of income, we're not going to save a lot, but at very high levels of income, we're going to save quite a bit of money. So three things that we want to hit so far. Number one, there is a one-to-one relationship between on our benchmark line right here. There is not a one-to-one relationship with our actual consumption line, which is what we're a little bit more interested in. We notice that as income grows, consumption also grows, but not as fast. We also go ahead and note that classical economists believe that interest rates determine savings, while Keynesians believe that income is the main determinant of saving. That's point number two. And finally here, the third point, we sort of glossed over it. Savings is negative to the left of point A and positive to the right of point A. So that ties everything all together, and we'll go ahead and prove point number two right here within the next few videos, doing a little bit of mathematics with all of that. So here, Keynesian consumption function, the biggest portion of aggregate expenditures laid out graphically, and a few of the idiosyncratic things that go along with it.